Let me help with that bag, Auntie. Thank you, my dear. You are so kind.
Lindai was a cleaner in a large corporate building, living a simple and hard life. One day, she saw an elderly woman struggling to carry heavy bags, so she immediately helped her without thinking twice. Lindai didn't know that this old woman, Mama Ayatund, was actually the mother of one of the most powerful people in the city, the CEO of a big company, Olamide Ayatund. Mama Ayatund was touched by Lindai's kindness and decided to repay her in a way she never imagined. Instead of just thanking her, Mama Ayatund promised to change Lindai's life. The next day, Lindai received an unexpected job offer from a prestigious company, along with an opportunity for a better home. This new opportunity opened doors for her, and Lindai's life started to improve. But as she began to enjoy the luxuries of her new life, she soon realized that there were sacrifices to be made. Lindai was about to enter a world that wasn't as kind as it seemed. While Lindai thought her life was changing for the better, this sudden shift would bring more challenges than she ever expected. The woman who she helped out of kindness turned out to be more influential than she realized. Little did Lindai know, this moment of helping someone would set off a chain of events that would change her life forever. Lindai's life was transformed after helping Mama Ayatund. She found herself in a new job that came with better pay and a luxurious apartment. At first, she felt like she was living a dream. The job offer seemed too good to be true, and the company she now worked for had a reputation for being one of the best. She no longer had to worry about the struggles that used to weigh her down, like paying bills or worrying about her future. But as Lindai started settling into her new life, she began to feel something wasn't quite right. The people around her were different from the ones she used to know. They had wealth and power, but their attitudes were cold and distant. The company's high-class employees treated her like she didn't belong, and Lindai began to realize that she wasn't just receiving a gift. There were expectations tied to this new life. She started feeling like an outsider, unsure whether she was being accepted for who she truly was or if they just saw her as a project to elevate. Despite all the good things happening, she couldn't ignore the feeling of being trapped by her own success. Lindai had to adjust quickly to this new world, learning how to act, speak, and behave in ways that would make her fit in. She didn't know if she was losing herself in the process, but one thing was clear. Her new life wasn't as simple as she thought it would be. As Lindai continued to adjust to her new life, she met Kofi Ayatund, the charming son of Mama Ayatund and CEO Olamide Ayatund. Kofi was everything Lindai hadn't expected, a wealthy, attractive man with a smile that could light up a room. They quickly formed a bond, and it wasn't long before they began a romantic relationship. At first, it seemed like a fairy tale. Kofi treated her with kindness, and Lindai couldn't help but fall for him. However, as their relationship grew, Lindai started to notice small signs of jealousy and possessiveness. Kofi became angry at the smallest things, like when Lindai talked to other men or made decisions without consulting him. These emotions were hidden behind the charming facade he showed everyone else, but with Lindai, his true nature started to show. One day, Kofi's jealousy crossed a line when he exposed a secret from Lindai's past. He revealed it to his family and the company's higher-ups, embarrassing Lindai and forcing her to confront the past she had worked so hard to escape. The secret wasn't something she was proud of, but it wasn't something she wanted others to know. She felt betrayed by Kofi, the man she thought she could trust. This revelation sparked a chain of events that left Lindai heartbroken and filled with anger. Her love for Kofi was now mixed with resentment, and she began to question whether their relationship was truly built on love or manipulation. Lindai's life became even more complicated when her mother fell seriously ill. She rushed back to her small, modest home, where her mother was lying in bed, weak and frail. Lindai felt torn. She had finally found a way out of poverty, but now her mother, the woman who had sacrificed so much to raise her, needed her more than ever. The weight of this responsibility crushed Lindai. She couldn't afford to lose her job, but she also couldn't leave her mother to suffer alone. The Ayatund family, aware of her situation, offered to help. But the help came with strings attached. They offered her financial support for her mother's treatment. But in return, Lindai was asked to sever ties with her old life, her family, and anyone who wasn't part of their world. She was expected to prove her loyalty to the Ayatunds by cutting off the people who had always been there for her. Lindai was forced to make a difficult decision, one that no daughter should have to make. Would she take the help for her mother, or would she stay true to the values her mother had taught her? The offer from the Ayatun family was tempting, but it left Lindayu feeling like she was being sold out for the sake of her own success. The pressure of balancing her family and her new life became too much, and Lindayu knew that whatever choice she made, she could never go back to the way things were before. The weight of her decision became unbearable for Lindayu as the truth behind the Ayatun family started to unfold. When CEO Olamide Ayatun confronted her, everything she thought she knew about her situation was turned upside down. Olamide revealed shocking details about how the Ayatun family had played a part in keeping Lindayu's family in poverty for years, even going so far as to destroy small businesses like her mother's. The truth stung, and Lindayu felt a deep sense of betrayal. The family she had trusted, the family that had helped her, was the same one responsible for her hardships. It was a cruel twist of fate, and Lindayu realized that she wasn't just a victim of her circumstances, but also of the very people she had looked up to. Olamide's revelation hit her hard. The offer of help now felt like a mere manipulation, a way to tie her down and keep her loyal. Lindayu's trust in the Ayatun family was shattered, and she was forced to confront her own role in her rise to success. The kindness she once saw in Mama Ayatun now seemed like a tool used to trap her. She was faced with a harsh reality. If she continued to follow the Ayatuns, she would never be free. And if she tried to expose them, it would cost her everything. This knowledge pushed Lindayu to make a decision that would change the course of her life forever. Lindayu's world grew darker as she began to understand the full extent of the Ayatun family's power and corruption. One evening, while sitting in a local cafe, Lindayu met Zuri, an old colleague from her earlier job, who warned her about the true nature of the Ayatun family. Zuri, with a grave expression, shared stories of how the Ayatun family had destroyed countless lives to build their empire. It wasn't just about business, it was personal for them. They used their wealth and influence to manipulate people into doing their bidding, and once someone was no longer useful, they discarded them without a second thought. Zuri told Lindayu that Mama Ayatun, while appearing kind and generous, was just as ruthless as her son. Olamide when it came to securing their legacy. The deeper Lindayu dug, the more she realized that the Ayatuns weren't the saviors they appeared to be. They were the reason for the suffering of so many families, including her own. This realization hit Lindayu hard, but it also fueled her desire for revenge. She knew now that the only way out of this toxic situation was to expose the Ayatun family's dark secrets. But as she considered her next steps, Lindayu couldn't help but wonder if the cost of revenge would be too high. Would she lose herself in the process, or would she find a way to make things right? The battle for her soul had just begun. With the truth about the Ayatun family in her hands, Lindayu began to carefully plan her revenge. She started gathering evidence, documents, recordings, and testimonies, everything she needed to expose the family's wrongdoings. But as the pieces came together, the weight of what she was doing started to take a toll on her. Every time she looked at the evidence, she saw not only the sins of the Ayatun family, but also the destruction her own life was beginning to experience. Her relationship with Kofi became strained. He noticed her coldness and growing distance, and his anger only grew as she withdrew from him. Kofi tried to convince Lindayu to let go of her plans, but she couldn't. The betrayal she had felt was too much to ignore, and she needed justice. The more Lindayu pushed forward, the more she isolated herself from the people who had once cared about her. Her friends, her colleagues, and even Kofi began to turn their backs on her, not understanding the rage and hurt she carried. Lindayu was on the edge, caught between the desire for revenge and the realization that in seeking justice, she had already lost so much. Her heart was heavy with regret, but she couldn't turn back now. She had made up her mind. She would expose the Ayatun family, no matter the consequences. The path she had chosen was a lonely one, but it was the only way she could regain control over her life. Just as Lindayu was about to make her move, something unexpected happened. Mama Ayatun, the very woman who had set her life in motion, appeared before her. Lindayu hadn't seen Mama Ayatun in weeks, and now, standing in front of her, the elderly woman's calm and wise demeanor was the complete opposite of the anger and betrayal Lindayu had been feeling. Mama Ayatun's face held no anger, only sadness. She spoke softly to Lindayu, urging her to stop her plans for revenge. She explained that revenge would only cause more pain, and that it would consume her. "I know what you want to do," Mama Ayatun said, But remember, peace is not found in destruction. She told Lindau that she had seen the pain of losing everything and warned her that taking this path would lead to nothing but emptiness. Mama Ayatund even offered Lindau a chance to let go of her anger and find forgiveness. Not for the Ayatund family, but for herself. The choice was now in Lindau's hands. As she listened to Mama Ayatund's words, Lindau felt a storm of emotions: guilt, sadness, confusion, and fear. She had come so far, and yet, standing before the woman who had changed her life, Lindau was forced to face the possibility that revenge might not be the answer. Mama Ayatund's words were a turning point, and for the first time, Lindau questioned everything she had been fighting for. Lindau stood at a crossroads, torn between the path of vengeance and the chance for a new beginning. Despite Mama Ayatund's plea, the urge to expose the Ayatund family's dark secrets was too powerful to ignore. The anger that had built up inside her over the years, the betrayal she felt from the people who had destroyed her family, clouded her judgment. She had gathered everything she needed: proof, witnesses, and the truth. Now was the time to take it all public, to bring the Ayatund family down. But as she prepared to reveal everything, Lindau found herself hesitating. She remembered the life she had once dreamed of, a life free from fear and shame, and the simple joys of her old world. Would exposing the Ayatunds really give her peace, or would it only bring more chaos and pain? The pressure of making the right decision became unbearable. In a moment of reckoning, Kofi showed up at her door, pleading with her to stop. He promised to help her, to fight alongside her if only she would let go of her anger. For a brief moment, Lindau saw the man she had once loved, the man who was now broken like her. But she realized too late that love and revenge could never coexist. With a heavy heart, Lindau made her decision. She would expose the Ayatunds, but in doing so, she knew she was sacrificing not just the chance at a better future, but the people she once held dear. It was a choice that would haunt her forever. The aftermath of Lindau's decision was more devastating than she could have ever imagined. When she publicly exposed the Ayatund family's secrets, the fallout was immediate and overwhelming. The company crumbled, and the Ayatund family's empire began to collapse, but at a steep personal cost. Lindau lost her job, her status, and the respect she had worked so hard to gain. Kofi, heartbroken by her decision, distanced himself, unable to forgive her for betraying his family. Lindau was left with nothing but the truth, which felt hollow without the support of the people she once loved. However, in her darkest moments, something unexpected happened. The people she had helped along the way, the ones who had witnessed her kindness and strength, began to rally around her. They admired her courage to stand up for what was right, even if it meant losing everything. Slowly, Lindau began to realize that her true worth didn't lie in wealth or status, but in her integrity and the lives she had touched. She found a new sense of purpose in helping others who had been wronged by the powerful, offering them the chance to rebuild their lives. Mama Ayatund, seeing Lindau's growth, reached out one last time, offering her a fresh start, but this time on her own terms. Lindau accepted, not because of the Ayatund family's wealth, but because she had finally found peace within herself. The journey had been long and painful, but it had led her to the realization that true freedom came from forgiveness. Not just for others, but for herself. She had learned that the price of revenge was too high, but the rewards of letting go were worth every sacrifice. This was the end of one chapter and the beginning of a new, more peaceful life for Lindau.